So what's really your objective? Your objective is to collect information on
Yeah,
boats.
yeah. This is my first interview for the book about buying a boat for the Liveaboard sailor.
Oh yeah.
And this is Wolfgang, who has bought, well, in many a way he's made a bigger commitment than me, because he's kind of sold up and bought a boat to live on and bought his boat brand new, but it's a very different kind of boat from mine. So we want to talk about how he reached the decisions that he reached, the characteristics of the boat that he bought and what he was looking for. We can mention the brand or not, depending whether you're comfortable to do that. Doesn't really matter. It's to do with lessons that other people can learn from. So tell me, first of all, when you started thinking about living on a boat, what were the characteristics that you were looking for in the boat?
I think the most important thing was comfort, creature comfort. It has to do with the ingress and egress of the boat. In the aft section, we have a fairly open door with a little swimming platform, but at least you can get in and on and off the boat.
Yep.
The boat has a fairly high freeboard, which makes it a requirement to have either a ladder or at least a step. And some places where we get to, there's a fairly high drop because the walls are very low, or the floating docks are very low, so you have to be still limber enough to get on and off the boat.
Yeah.
But the other thing has to do with with also the ingress into the main cabin, which we chose to have a raised cabin to be able to look out of the boat when you sit down
Yeah.
for dinner or whatever, or any activity, which makes it a bit unique boat. Besides the comfort, well, I'm 6'2", and this boat has in the main section a 6'1", so I'm starting to feel like the hunchback of Notre Dame, even though the other sections of the boat has ample clearance.
Yeah.
But because of the raised saloon and a water tank which is right under the floor, they could not lower the floor another inch or 2 inches
Okay.
without buying a special tank. If I would have known how uncomfortable it is, I would have insisted on it.
Yeah. Okay.
But now I have the boat.
Did you make? Well, I mean, I bought my boat second hand, and so when you buy a new boat, they don't tend to come with solar panels, wind generators. Those sort of things are not standard as a rule. For me, buying a second hand boat, some people have already added things like that. So I made a list of the sort of features and so on that I was looking for when I went shopping. You chose to buy new, but did you consider how much fuel you needed to carry, how much water you wanted to carry, and did you look at the specs of the various boats that were available?
Yeah, we looked at the specs, but also we looked at how to obtain fuel, how easy it is to obtain fuel, how easy is it to obtain water. We also made some modifications on the boat when we spec'd the boat. I had the transom reinforced for the possibility of installing a wind generator without ripping half of the boat apart, for example. So the next thing was consideration for a water maker. You don't need it in the med, but if you go to some remote places, you definitely would like to have one. So you have to have the power for it. So we spec'd out a fairly large battery pack.
Yeah.
And also what do you call it? Inverter.
Okay.
Common inverter. And a generator, a small generator, which caused me other problems, which we might get to.
Yeah. So how much water and how much fuel do you actually carry?
We have almost the same amount. We have a bit of over 300 liters of fuel and 275 liters of water.
Okay.
Regular water.
And how big is the boat? I know I should know this, but
It's
is it
42 feet.
42 feet?
42 feet. I mean, we also looked for the shallow draft feature because we were anticipating of going into shallow areas.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we got the lifted keel. We had to put some big bucks on the table for that one.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
And again, creature.
Was that an optional extra then?
No, was not optional. Not for this type of boat.
Okay.
We wanted it.
This boat has a lifting keel as standard,
This
right?
boat has a lifting keel. That's it.
Yeah.
Other creature comfort were also important to get all the lines into the cockpit. No more climbing and hopping on the deck to get the main down or up when the waves are crashing. So we made sure that we have furling systems and the lines to the cockpit. In afterthought, we probably would have looked also at a furling system for the main,
Yeah.
either in mast or in boom. Where basically in boom, from sources we talked to, which are fairly experienced, the in-boom furling was the easiest to maintain. You don't get the perfect sail shape, but if you think that the big Genoa is a pulling sail anyway,
Mm.
and the main is just kind of like sometimes even a hindrance if you sometimes pull the main and say, well, there was no change in speed, so why did I have it?
No, I agree entirely, and I wouldn't want in mast furling, having seen some of the problems it's caused to other people.
Yep.
And you know, if it jams high up the mast, then you've got to go up.
You're gonna go up no matter what kind of weather,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So no.
So I think furling in or on the boom is a good idea, and I'm surprised don't see more of it around, to be honest. You know, there's plenty of slab reefing and lazy jacks and bags on the boom, but actual, you know, roller reefing or something on the boom is pretty unusual these days.
I'm actually looking at maybe even getting a retrofit, but right now, as the way it works, I think I'm still okay.
Yeah.
I'm still limbo enough to climb
So
up.
tell me about the research you did. I know you said that a friend of yours had bought a similar boat, and that
Well, I
influenced
had
you.
a boat for 10 years before,
Mhm.
and it was a very practical boat. I could get at everything. It was only 34 feet, but it sailed, let's say, very forgiving. It had a very good shape, a medium length keel, and it was very stable. And if you had too much wind, it just heeled over, and that was it.
Yeah.
It turned into the wind, so nothing, no hobby horsing or jumping around or whatever. But it had a lot of things where I had to go on deck. Okay, like the main.
Yeah.
You had to raise and lower. Okay. The area we sailed in wasn't a problem. But if I go on the high seas and you got lots of rolling seas, no, I don't want to be there.
Yeah.
So researching that was one thing. So basically we compared everything to that boat. The boat was very practical. We had lots of room on the boat. We were only 2 people, but we also slept 6 people in the boat, and it was not crowded. You had to be organized, but it wasn't crowded.
Yeah.
Right. So that was important. Bathroom or head. We only had one on the boat. We definitely wanted to have a shower. And it's actually curious how often the people that sold us the boat tried to talk us out of the shower.
Really?
I'm like, what? Well, you have a wet cell. Right? Yeah, but in a wet cell, kind of like, what? No, I want a full-size shower.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
And which we have, and we really enjoy. Even sometimes in the marinas, when the marinas are not up to
Yeah.
standards, and we use our own shower.
Yeah.
And you don't let the water run all the time. You're frugal with the water, but still you have your own shower, and it's easily cleanable, and it's enclosed, and that's it. I mean, just for the sake of a bookshelf, I wanted to take the shower away.
Yeah. Crazy.
I'm like, no, no.
And I understand from Judy that you have a washing machine as well.
Oh yeah, yeah. That you know what? That actually came very, very handy. More handy than I thought.
Yeah.
And it's not actually not that expensive. Our neighbors bought one for 300 euros, and the one we have retails for about 500. I'm pretty sure you could get it even cheaper.
And is that electric?
It is electric. It runs on 220.
Mm-hmm.
So you either run the generator, or you actually the inverter would do it if you have hot water, if you run cold.
Yeah.
Because a washing machine heats the water. It's a
Yeah.
European style.
Yeah.
Yeah, where it heats its own water. So then the inverter would probably not
You'd struggle if it had to do both.
not
Yeah.
survive. Right? But washing itself, it would run on the inverter, no problem.
Okay. Does it use a lot of water?
No, it's very, very little water. It's only a 3 kilo machine.
Okay.
It's good for pretty well everything.
Yeah.
Very heavy stuff you probably wash in a marina,
Yeah.
big machine anyway. Like big heavy wet bedding or something. You wouldn't do that. But for t-shirts and shirts and underwear,
Yeah.
something that should stay clean, it's perfect. Was a good
Okay.
investment. Took away one of my cabinet spaces,
Well,
but
you can say.
you have to make a compromise. Right?
okay. Now, you've actually lived on this boat for a year, is that right?
A year and a half now, yeah.
Year and a half. So tell me about the lessons that you've learned in that year and a half, and the questions you might well have asked the manufacturer.
Oh, now you're getting the good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, the very, very first thing for anybody who looks at the boat has to get the access to the engine. Because the engine is your lifeline. Right? So how easy can you make an oil change? Can you get at the oil cartridge in the first place? How do you get the oil out? Yeah, do you have to pump it through the dipstick, which is a pain in the keister because you only can put a very small hose in there, or pipe, and you have to warm up the oil a little bit. Most boats I know you can't get underneath the oil pan. There's no such thing.
No.
Okay, so I think our engine, the one we have here, that's the Yanmar, is actually built in such a way that you actually can suck out all the oil with the dipstick. As the dipstick is the lowest portion, which is good. Some engines you leave a half a liter of sludge in it all the time, right? So you never really make an oil change. You make an oil top up.
Yeah.
The next thing on the engine. Okay, so can you service the oil? The next thing is, can you service your cooling water, which you normally get on the top, and then you drain it somewhere, which I haven't even figured out on this engine where to do that. And after that, you have to look at maintenance of the engine. And what is the first thing that goes in the engine? Is always the impeller. Right? You go in a shipyard to get your bottom cleaned, and you they water blast the bottom, and they put all the little shells and grut into your filter system for the engine, and then if you don't watch out, you suck everything through the impeller, and then you have to put a new impeller in. So now how easy is it to get to the impeller? I already have an headache thinking about getting at my impeller. There's not much room in there. Right. Again, my previous engine, I took a panel off, and there it was. On this one, there's room for somebody with 3 hands and very slim ones to take the impeller out, and you have to have special tools. So, and you can't see much, so you're almost working blind. I've seen other boats where you can't, it's almost impossible, basically.
Yeah.
It's virtually impossible to get in the impeller. You will have to actually saw a piece out of the boat. So incredible how some people design boats. I think this is the most important thing. One thing which I insisted on on this boat, which I saw in one of the magazines, is to reroute the diesel filters to a place where I can actually see them and service them, which I had done, which now I can on a daily basis actually open up the panel and look at them and go, okay, fine, no dirt in there.
These are water separating filters you're talking
Water
about?
separating filters, yes. So yes, so you have one, the fine one on the engine, you have a coarser one before that. It's a must. And if you go into exotic places, then you should actually have a double filter system. So you either can switch it over, right? And make sure that you have enough spares with you. Again, also there is a discussion about people on diesel tanks. Where should actually the suction hose of your for the diesel pump system for the engine be? Way at the bottom or a bit above the bottom? And some people say, well, if it's a bit above the bottom, you don't suck up all the water. And other people say, well, if it's right at the bottom, you always suck up the little water there is and goes through the filter, and you don't have to worry. And the people that have tanks where the pipe does not go to the bottom, as soon as they go into a rough sea, will experience an engine failure because you get the sludge. Okay, so that's now, I think the consensus now is get to the bottom of things, suck out the crap as it comes, and clean the filter, but then you won't have the surprise when the weather gets rough that everything gets churned up and you only have garbage in the diesel.
Yeah.
So this is one of the things. So I think the way our tank is built, the pipe goes right to the bottom, and it's a plastic tank.
Yeah.
Actually, you can see so you don't have the problem of sweating wells on stainless steel tanks. The next thing, again, we're talking accessibility. I have one problem with my water heater, whereas the water heater heating element, the 220 volt heating elements, have a minute amount of moisture and a minute amount of current leakage, which is so small you won't need to see it on a normal breaker. But my ground fault interrupter saw it immediately and throws out my water heater. And then you click it on again for a while, and it works maybe for 10 seconds. And then you do put it on again, it works for 30 seconds, and then slowly but surely you warm up the wire, the moisture dissipates, and the thing works again, but it's an absolute annoyance.
Yeah.
So I researched on the sites for these ground fault interrupters, and they basically tell you that for water heaters, you should have kind of like a time delay element in there to make sure that the elements warm up before you actually activate this ground fault. So I kind of think, well, it's a bit weird how this works, but okay. Doesn't really give you the security of the ground fault interrupter when you wanted it. So
when you first start up.
So and that made me actually research where is my water heater and how can I get at it. So I found it in below my CT. I had to take my table out completely, which was an act in itself because the way it is fastened. And then I looked at the water heater from the top, and I still couldn't get at it because there's all kinds of bracing in the way. The bracing is nice, makes the boat very stable, but if you can't remove it, then you also can't get to your water heater. And if you ever want to replace it, you have to use a saw. And then you dismantle part of the boat. So just to service it and to check something, you need like a mutated body where you need an extra foot length on your arms to get at this water heater. So we figured out that problem. The water heater works now, but in the back of my head is okay, if this thing ever goes, hopefully not.
Well, one day it will. Nothing lasts forever.
I will. Have you solved your problem?
No, I emailed England about a new boiler for my boat, and I'm still waiting for a reply.
Force 4 or?
Force 4, yeah.
Oh, okay.
But you had also, you told me, access difficulties with your bilge pumps, that the manual tells me tells you to.
Yes. Well, I'm one of those persons that read manuals. Okay, and in the manuals it says certain things that you should actually check and maintain. And one of them was yes, you should check your bilge pump and make sure there's no debris around it. So I was looking for my bilge pumps. I found one. I found the strainer for the manual one, which was very nicely accessible, plenty of room, and I said, "Oh, this is great." So now I was looking for my automatic bilge pump, which again was under the CT. And yes, there is a groove built in the boat with the water can collect, but I could hear the pump, but I couldn't see it. So I was diving into the catacombs of the boat, and I'm relatively slim, so I could squeeze in there. Any person with a little bit wider hip would get stuck down there. And I heard the pump, and I finally I found the discharge hose, and I followed the discharge hose. And underneath a whole bunch of wires and hoses, which were nicely bundled together and very nicely professionally installed, I could feel the pump, but I couldn't see it. So then I proceeded to saw with a hole saw. Actually, I didn't want to saw through cables or anything. Saw from the top down, and I saw the whole piece of wood out, which actually was hanging in the air, doing nothing. It wasn't supporting anything. It was hanging in the air, and then I found the pump underneath. So now I could see the pump, I could hear the pump, but I still couldn't remove the pump because the way the pump was installed, it unclips out of the base. You can actually take it out and clean it. But this was so closely mounted to the wall that at least one clip on one side, you couldn't even get a finger in there. So now I will contemplate of making a special tool one of these days, get the pump out, move the base over, and then install it in a place where you actually can remove it. And yes, there was a lot of building debris already there. So if I ever had water ingress, this thing would have lasted about 2.5 minutes, and that was it.
Yeah.
So if you consider that maybe a bilge pump should help you, well, not prevent the boat from sinking, but at least help you bailing, then this is not the right place for it.
No. When you say building debris, you mean like sawdust and things?
Sawdust and chips and little pieces of wood, yes, which have not been vacuumed out probably. So, and I'm pretty sure there are other. If you ever get water in the boat, you will find even more of that stuff because it's underneath some of the building platforms. So that was not done very well. So that's a bilge pump. The other one is my water pump, which the way it works I don't like. It cycles too often. And again, I was diving under my CT, and I found a little access hole, again where I could see the pump, but I couldn't even reach it. I could not get my body far enough in there. I think, I don't know, whoever built the boat must have had a mutant work on it. Or the way a lot of people build boats, they install everything, and then they put the top shell on it, and that's it. And once the top shell is on it, then you basically have encased a lot of things where you should normally have access to.
Yeah.
So this is one of the things. So again, I had to cut out a lot of wood and make my own access. so I could actually get to the pump. So now leaning over my CT with a pillow on my belly, upside down, I can get at the pump. But as you can imagine, working upside down, you don't last too long. Especially maybe in a rough sea or something. You don't want to go down there.
No.
Okay, you're gonna be dead. So yes, this is the stories about the pumps. The next thing, which I really have a problem with, is everybody has a problem with the head on the boat. Okay. And on our old boat, we did not have the antisiphon arrangement because we weren't even allowed to pump overboard. Because in the Great Lakes, you're not allowed to discharge anything. So it had to go in a tank, and the tank had to get pumped. Yeah. At the pumping station, you had pumping stations everywhere. A few bucks. They pumped it empty. So the hoses were relatively short. When I looked at this boat, because of the ocean-going vessel, I read in the manual that I had antisiphon valves, which had to get cleaned every once in a while. Oh, that's great. So if something has to get cleaned, you have to get to it. So in the forward head, there was no problem. There's an access panel you take off, and there they are. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. You can remove them. Now I was looking for the aft cabin antisiphon valves, and for the life of me, I couldn't find them. So I was removing again, and on my CT I found the tank, because we have the black water tank for the aft is behind the CT, fairly high, so it's a gravity drain. And I found the tank, and I found a lot of hoses going everywhere. And then finally I also found, after I removed another panel, I finally found the antisiphon valves in a place where you can get it. Again, hidden behind a wall. Okay. And far away from the toilet. Okay, so now we have two things now. First of all, the accessibility. The pain you already have is the antisiphons, because you're adding 6 feet of more hose. Okay, because it was so remote, there was another 6 feet of hose, which every time you pump the toilet, you should clean out. So guess what? There must be
for a long time.
there must be a very strong muscled person pumping until they say, screw this, right? And after 3 years you change all your hoses because they're grown shut, because of the calcium buildup. So again, if you ever get a boat built, this is one thing I would insist that you watch it. That first of all, the antisiphons are accessible and they're as close to the toilet as possible, because you don't want to pump forever. Okay, you want to sail, not pump toilet crap. So plus the quality of the most of the toilet pumps is
Rubbish.
Atrocious.
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree. I mean, I change my toilet pump every 18 months, more or less.
Yeah, well, it's not that you just don't service them, don't touch them. Okay. And we have our little trick is to use baby oil, only baby oil, to lubricate the pump, and that works. Okay. If you take it apart and actually use Vaseline, it will last much longer. Okay, but you have to do it. And again, if the pump dies on you early, then you have build-up of calcium. And I've seen some spare pumps, which was almost virtually grown shut. I said, well, this is not a spare pump, you have to clean it out first, right? Because when you need it, you don't want to clean it. Right?
No.
But the calcium buildup is just incredible how fast it goes.
Yeah.
So between the baby oil to lubricate and vinegar, which is relatively cheap vinegar, which you put in there every once in a while and leave it overnight, your toilets will live for much longer than you think. Okay. But baby oil is one of the
Now,
nitrates.
other people have said to me olive oil. Have you ever tried that?
Oils you have to watch out. Oils and seawater.
Yeah.
Baby oil does not turn into soap,
Okay.
where some oils turn soapy, and then you have an even worse effect because then you build up even more crap in your toilets or in your plunger, your pumping plunger. Okay. Baby oil, it's cheap. Get it on special.
Yeah.
And basically, when you pump it empty, and right at the end you put it in there, and you will almost immediately feel how easy it goes.
Yeah.
Right. So you don't have to put much in there. So a little bottle lasts you a few months. So yeah, creature comfort, right? That's one of the most important things.
Yeah.
Right. Ingress and egress. This boat here, you have a relatively easy ingress into the cabin.
Yeah.
Where some boats, like the nice racing boat beside us, it's virtually impossible to get comfortably into the main cabin because you have a big hump you have to climb over, and then there's only so much clearance between the bimini and the deck. So yeah, it's a trick to get in and out on some boats. And when you go to a boat show, try it a few times, right? And try it with envisioning a bimini or a dodger or a spray yacht, you call it in England. Right? All of a sudden it becomes difficult because you don't see a boat at the boat show with a spray yacht.
No. No, interesting.
Now envision a spray hood, and all of a sudden things change. For example, our spray hood, we wanted to have elephant ears on the spray hood. Right? Elephant ears are basically handles when you come from the deck and you want to climb into the cockpit, that you have something to hold on to. And they forgot about them. So, well, they took it off and put them back on. And now it's one of our most important features, because you need to have something to hold on. And when the spray hood is up, there's nothing to hold on from the rail, which ends midships, and all of a sudden you have 5 feet of nothing. And 5 feet of nothing in rough weather, you don't want. So again, little features that make sure that you hold on to. Right? And you talked before about the solar panel. Again, I said I had the rear of the boat reinforced, so basically a 3/4 plywood laminated in. And to get a substantial carrier, which is not only for the solar panel because it's overdone, but also we use it to lift up our dinghy. We do flip up our dinghy. We use flip up davits,
Right.
which actually I prefer over now that I've used them. I prefer over lifting davits. First of all, when you come from shopping and you're not as agile as a 20-year-old anymore, you can clip in your dinghy, and now the dinghy is stable.
Yeah.
So you can get in and out of the dinghy. All right, and once you're done, you just flip the dinghy up and actually protects your rear also.
Yeah.
Okay, and other people who have lifting davits, they're also in heavy weather, had their dinghy get swamped.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, instead of a 50-pound dinghy, you have a 500-pound dinghy back there, and even heavier, and most of the davits are not built for that.
Yeah.
So you basically break off. So, and in that respect, the flip up dinghy is perfect.
Yeah.
And we just slip it up and tie it to the railing. That's it. So, what else?
There's some interesting tips there.
Yeah. Fire extinguishers.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure they're in the right spot. Fire blanket.
Yeah. Well, those are useful things, but then you can always add fire extinguishers to a boat later.
You can add them, but if it's something, kind of like, you just have to be aware of it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Something you hopefully never have to use, but if you need to use them, you better be there.
So if we recap the things that you look at when choosing a boat to live aboard. You started with engine servicing, oil change and impellers.
Mm-hmm.
You looked at ease of access in and out of the boat, and reasonable water and fuel capacity, I think, was important to you.
Mm-hmm. Battery capacity,
creature
Yeah.
comforts. And then the thing that perhaps you hadn't gone into beforehand, but which you would advise people to look at now, is the accessibility of things like
Everything.
pumps,
Everything.
toilet valves.
Everything.
Yeah.
See, if I would have had more experience, I would have stayed at the shipyard and said, guys, not that way. Okay. Afterwards, I spoke with an experienced sailor who had a ship built in the same yard, and he basically said, here, 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 here. That's where you put things. Okay.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it kind of didn't rub off on the next generation of boats. So they must have had different mechanics, right?
Yeah.
So and certainly, I mean, the boat has to sail well. I mean, this is kind of like the basics, right? I mean, if you use a race boat for cruising, you got the wrong boat.
Yeah.
Right? You have to have a fairly stable boat, a boat that even at wind 5 to 8. If you're comfortable and say, yeah, I'm safe. Right, it's rough weather, but I'm safe.
Yeah.
Right. Not that you cannot pray at the first wave already. Right. We had some very big waves in the Atlantic, and we never felt insecure. Right. So the boat always did what we wanted. Right.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Unless you've got anything else you
Well,
want to add?
if I think about something, I'll let you know what. Yes, some of the things are very accessible. I have my cooling unit for my freezer is accessible.
Yeah.
My cooling unit for my refrigerator is not.
Okay.
Which is kind of like way hidden in there. Which again, you need a snake man to go in if you ever want to service it.
Yeah.
Right, I mean, sometimes you have to top up the Freon. And one tip: if you ever can choose for a speed lock to be an ultrasonic one that works, use it. Because in the waters where we have been, in the English waters, and all down the coast, right up to here, after 2 days, your lock is already covered with growths.
Yeah.
And you never get the right reading. So what you do, you have to take it out, you have to put the plug in, you have to clean it, right? All the while the wife is hearing, oh, that's a horror, right? So that is definitely something in these waters here. After 2 days, you get the first muscles on it.
Yeah.
Right? And
No, I mean, I've given up trying to keep my log clean.
yeah, we'll use a GPS and
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the double redundancy is important, right?
Yeah.
I mean, for us, we have at least 2 GPSs independent from each other, and instruments which are independent from your batteries. If you ever have a battery failure, then you should make sure that you have something in your hand that you can use.
Yeah.
Right?
I agree.
So that's about it. What else, Judy?
Nothing to add?
Navtex, we have a Navtex. We bought the Navtex afterwards. I should have probably used it.
No, what I'm really concerned with is the major features. I mean, obviously, you'd advise people to go and buy a handheld chart plotter or GPS as a backup and all sorts of things, but it's choosing the boat is what the book is about.
It's handles everywhere, right? I mean, even for people that get into their 50s, right? One bad step, right? I mean, just recently we read another article, a woman fell backwards, right? and hit her head, and if Judy hits her head right on here, right, I might as well throw her overboard because that's it. Right. So on our other boat, we were basically Judy fell down the gangway because we hit something.
Bottom.
We hit bottom. We were leaning over the chart and said, "Well, this can't be." And at that moment, you already hit bottom, right? And the boat stopped instantly.
Yeah.
Right, and this, but your body doesn't. It just keeps on going, right? I mean, we were lucky we were that fast, but still, right? So handles everywhere. These handles, for example, this one wasn't standard,
They were
right?
all extra.
These are all extra,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Well, you can hold on the fiddle. No, you can't hold on to the fiddle. Right? If you're really in a rough sea, you can't hold on to the fiddle. You better hold on to something solid.
Yeah.
This was all standard. These were okay. There was nothing wrong with those. Okay.
Yeah.
But again, you have to be able to wedge yourself into a place when the weather gets rough, or you hold on to something.
Yeah.
When the cockpit is fairly deep, reasonably comfortable. You can again wedge yourself when the boat heels. Reasonably comfortable.
I thought of something that we didn't see on very many boats was a good place for garbage.
Oh.
It sounds
Yeah.
like a
Oh, that's-
negligible thing,
Yeah.
but I don't remember. It was somewhere on some boats. We kept asking about the garbage, and most people had garbage bags hanging off something there, and we just looked at ourselves and said,
Impossible.
"That's what we need
Oh
to
yeah,
do."
on a
is
boat, on a
get
boat show.
a and also this boat did not have a place for garbage. Oh well, they didn't even have an answer. I don't think.
No.
And that's when
Well, we showed them basically where to put one.
Yeah, we decided this is how we want it to look, and they put one in for
They
us.
build it.
A nice big deep one.
Yeah, but you're losing space for
Yes.
your pots. I said, well,
And I
yeah, you
realize
lose
that,
space
but
for the
everything
pots,
on a
but the
boat-
garbage has to go somewhere.
It does.
Everything
If
on
you
a
go
boat
to-
is a compromise.
Challenge your readers to go to a boat show, into the boat, and say, okay, where's the garbage?
Yeah.
On some boats, I think
They have a
one of the
pull-out. They had a
Bavarias, they had a perfect one,
pull-out,
right? They had basically they had on the counter, you could lift it up and wipe things in. Perfect, right? So somebody thought about something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some mother was involved somebody's mother was involved in the design of the boat. But on other boats, absolutely impossible. Kind of like the people look at you as if you're from the moon,
Yeah.
right?
No, that's a very valid point. If you're going to live on a boat, you
Yes.
can.
Yes, you have to have a good
Yeah.
place for
Right.
garbage. Yeah.
Yeah.
Refrigeration, freezing, right? Again, and then all that depends on the batteries again, right?
Yeah.
So we put one solar panel, a high power solar panel on it, and thinking about it now, to power everything, we should have maybe put the second one on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fine. Which we do have capacity. We have the controller for it.
Yeah.
So that will tell us. But if you want to run, let's say, across the ocean, without running your generator or your engine, and your autopilot,
Yeah. No, well, I know about this, having just crossed the Atlantic with somebody who didn't have solar panels or a wind generator or a generator,
yeah.
and yeah, it caused problems.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yep.
experienced sailor, apparently, he told me.
Well, yeah, experience maybe, but it didn't.
Yeah, I
didn't
read your diary.
Take,
Did you read
take
it?
his
Yeah.
experience to heart, yeah. Right. I mean, again, everything has to do with comfort and ease of access. Right.
Yeah.
In operating the boat, but also on all your equipment, right? I mean, with the way our chart plotter is set up, for example, with this big steel loop over it, that was also not standard, right? We asked for the star chart plotter to be installed in this swivel type of enclosure, which we saw on somebody else's boat. And then I said, well, how are you going to protect this thing? What do you mean protected? I said, well, this thing is flimsy. If I fall against it, it breaks off.
Yeah.
Right. So give me a big stainless steel. Oh, that's a good idea. Right.
It
and
is.
now
And you quite often get thrown against things. I mean,
and
it's
now
part of the life, isn't it?
probably one of the most important things because exactly the right height and you use it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So now, yeah, short of the steering wheel.
But the swivel chart plotter, most people have theirs over the steering wheel.
Yeah.
And if you're not steering,
Yeah.
if you've got your autopilot on and you're sitting, you don't see it.
Right.
But for us, we always have view access to the chart plotter no matter where we're sitting at any angle because it's a
You can turn it
360.
towards
Very,
us, right?
very good.
Yeah.
Very
No,
well.
that's a nice feature. I mean, it's a bit of a
Very-
luxury when you consider people used to use sextants,
I know.
but
I know.
we are spoilt. But you know, I think make the most of what's available in the world.
That's
Yeah.
right. I mean, if you have it, you might as well use it properly, right?
Yeah.
It's no use to have a big, nice chart plotter down below, and
Yeah.
you know, it's no good up there, right?
Yeah.
So no.
That
it's,
really adds to the comfort
comfort
level.
of
Yeah.
ride, right?
Yeah, very much so.
Also, you feel good being able to just see what's around
All
you
the
all the
time.
time. Where
Mhm,
you're- yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Because we also have the AIS now. Okay.
Mm.
And I think it's a law for the normal merchant marine already.
Yeah.
The only people you don't see are the military guys.
No,
They just pop up
when they want to.
when they want to, but at least it gives you comfort crossing the channel or going through a narrow somewhere. Like, and you said straight off Singapore, right? When you looked at the chart and say, oh shit, that thing is very narrow, right? And all the traffic that goes through there.
Yeah.
So, yes, straight off Gibraltar. I mean, it looked like a zoo on there.
Yeah.
Right, but at least you knew where things were going, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there were the fast ferries which were going kind of 40 knots,
Yeah.
right, going across to
Yeah, I've forgotten what Ceuta is it called?
Ceuta,
Yeah.
Ceuta, and also to directly to Morocco.
Oh, Casablanca or something.
I think Rabat, I think,
Okay.
whatever it was.
Yeah.
So they were going fast, and yes, they come up very fast on you, and they don't really want to swerve
No.
around you. Okay. So you have to plan a little bit, and
Yeah.
this AIS was definitely a godsend to go through there without shitting your pants.
I've been through the Straits both ways. Actually, the sound between Sweden and Denmark is a little worse, I think, and the Bosphorus and the Dardanelles. But yeah. Anyway, thank you
Yeah.
very much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Okay.
So.